everyone, this is the Cultural Witch. Today I wanted to talk about a topic important to new, especially younger witches. When to go public with your witchcraft, also known as coming out of the broom closet. The important thing to note is that this can mean different things to different people depending on how deeply you're involved in the witchcraft or pagan community. I myself am pretty open about it. I wear witchy pendants on almost a daily basis. I have an active Facebook page where I share witchy things, and I work in a metaphysical store. But if people don't know about my page or where I work, they probably wouldn't be able to guess that I practice witchcraft, thinking I might just be into some strange jewelry. I really like this approach because it's not so in-your-face about it to people around me, both physically and online, who aren't involved in that community. I rarely share anything from the Cultural Witch on my personal Facebook. I only share these videos in witchcraft or pagan groups. When I post about my job, I usually just call it my job. My policy is if someone asks, I will be upfront and direct. I'll tell them that I am a secular witch, which means I don't believe in deities, but I do practice witchcraft. After that, it depends on my mood as to how I answer the questions that inevitably follow. Is that like the Wicca thing? You're on the right track, I guess. Do you cast spells? Yep. Do you worship Satan? Bitch, did you not get the part about not believing in a deity? If you do choose to be open about your practice, that's great. Some people like to be really open about it. This might be reflected in your social media, your clothing choices, etc. You should express yourself in whatever way seems fit, as long as you're not harassing anyone else. However, there are a few pieces of advice I'll give you should you choose to be open about your practices. First of all, I'd recommend not sharing your practices until you have a really concrete understanding of what it is exactly you believe and what you do. I'm not saying you have to be a genius and know every single herb or crystal, and you don't have to have any answers to the hard questions, like, what do you think happens after we die? Your answer can be, I don't know, but make it a confident I don't know. It's perfectly fine to say that, or I'm still learning and searching for my path. When I was a baby witch, I would try to explain my practices without even knowing exactly what my practices were, basically just repeating phrases I had read out of the book without understanding them myself. It just confuses other people as well as yourself. I wouldn't recommend it. But also take into consideration what exactly you're telling people. If you bought one book and you're 20 pages in, it might be a better idea to tell people, I'm studying witchcraft or I'm getting into witchcraft instead of, I'm a witch. I'm 10 years on in my studies, and I feel like only in the last few years have I really felt like being a witch was part of my identity. Think of it this way. After 2 tennis lessons, you wouldn't go around calling yourself a tennis player. And I know that the line is arbitrary. It will be different for everyone. I'm not saying that everyone has to wait 10 years to officially call themselves a witch. But like I said, this takes a lot of soul-searching and reflection. So make sure you really know what it means to be a witch, what you do, and what you believe before you go around sharing that with the world. Second of all, try not to be too aggressive about your interest in witchcraft. Like I said before, you should feel free to express yourself however you seem fit, but there are going to be people who just aren't interested in your witchcraft or your beliefs. Believe me, I remember how hard it was to not bring up witchcraft in every conversation when I first discovered it. And I mean that quite literally. It's great when you find a friend who might be as interested as you. That's exactly what I needed when I first got into witchcraft, and I think we were each other's outlets for witchiness, at which point I stopped bothering my other friends about it. Just remember this. Picking up witchcraft doesn't change who you are, at least it shouldn't, and definitely not immediately. I know how it feels, to feel like you've discovered this great secret that's so cool and interesting. You walk around seeing the world with different eyes for a while, trying to see the magic in everything. I know how hard it is to contain that. If you're going crazy about keeping it to yourself, I really don't blame you, and I felt the same way. I'd just suggest finding a healthy outlet. Find out if a friend is also as interested as you are. Or find a group on Facebook or another online forum. But please, if you're underage, always be careful about who you talk to and the information that you give. And lastly, just please don't be like this lady.
I'm very careful about who sees my pentacle. There it is.
But you're showing it to a National Geographic camera crew! Ah! For those of you who decide not to go public with your witchcraft, I have to say, I have a lot of respect for you. I'm a pretty extroverted person, and I like to share everything, in case you couldn't tell. I know that for some people, keeping secrets comes easy, but not for me. Anyway, good for you. Witchcraft, be it secular or with religious practices, is really between you and the universe. Plus anyone who you choose to include should you find someone who aligns with your beliefs to a certain extent. I have a question for all the witches still in the broom closet out there. What do you say when people ask you about your religious beliefs? Do you straight up lie? And hey, there's no judgment on my part, I'm just curious. Or maybe you tell people that you just prefer not to say. Anyway, I'm interested, so please let me know. One last thing that I wanted to add. If you think that you would be jeopardizing your safety in any way by going public with your witchcraft, if you know that your parents would either become abusive or perhaps they already are abusive towards you, and if you're a minor, or if you live in a region or a country where you think people would start acting violently towards you, please protect yourself. Self-expression is a beautiful thing, but your safety always needs to come first. I'm including a child abuse hotline for the US below in the description. Let me make it clear how serious this is. Please do not put yourself in danger, and if you are being abused, please try to get help. There are people who can and will help you. Well, that took a serious turn. Whatever your choice may be, make sure it's something that makes you comfortable. Find a positive outlet and continue your studies. That's all that matters. Let me know if you have any comments or questions or suggestions. Toodles!